Yeah.
All right, welcome everybody to episode number 17 of the Ear to the Canvas podcast. We are fresh off, just a few days out from UFC 251. It was a really fun night of fights. We had, of course, the 3 title fights plus a couple other really entertaining scraps. Of course, that the Jiri and Uzdemir was awesome. Rose and Andrade was awesome. And then the 3 title fights. I mean, Jan and Aldo was a lot of fun. It was a really competitive fight. And then Jan just prevailed. And then the co-main event, of course, there's a ton of controversy there. Matt Holloway came out looking great. And then Volkanovski made a switch and really switched up his game plan and finished strong. We're going to get into that. And, of course, the controversial decision by the judges there. And then what Usman did, just being the dominant champion that he is. Usman is to be reckoned with. I said this going into the Masvidal fight. I think he's right up there as most dominant of all the champions that we have right now. I think he's very tough to beat. We might be waiting a long time until somebody beats Kamaru. I think his toughest test will be his next test, though, against Burns. And we're going to get into that, too. Mostly going to be doing UFC 251 recap today, just because there's just so much to unpack. But before we do get into it, I just want to let everybody know that I'll be on the MMA Reloaded podcast for the second time. That'll be happening tomorrow. It'll be live streamed on YouTube. You can also, of course, it'll be up on YouTube afterwards if you can't catch it live. And later in the week, I'm going to be having my Back Sports page colleague, Alexis Rodriguez. He's new to the team, UFC boxing guy. So I'm going to be having him on the podcast either Thursday or Friday. That'll be fun. We'll likely be breaking down the Cater EJ card. There's some sick fights on that card, and especially, of course, the main event. And then probably going to be talking a little bit about Saturday's card too, because they're rolling them out. UFC's rolling them out on Fight Island, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I want to start with the main event. I like to go from the top down. Going to talk about the main event. Kamaru, of course, in dominant fashion, beat Masvidal by decision. The background on the fight has been very well known. 6-day notice for Masvidal. Had to cut about 22 pounds in that period of time. And you'd be a fool if you thought that wouldn't affect him coming into it. Especially a guy who can wear you down like Kamaru can. He's shown the ability. He's shown that he has the best cardio at 170. Maybe the best cardio in the sport. Kamaru Usman might have the best cardio in the UFC. You even see Khabib get tired once in a while. In his fights that get into the later rounds, he's been dominant, but he can get tired. Usman, we have not seen that. You didn't see him get tired against Woodley in those 5 rounds. You saw him out cardio the Mr. Cardio, Colby Covington, and then you saw it just the other day against Masvidal. Went 5 rounds strong. Looked like he could have won another 5. And I know a lot of people say it was boring. And of course it wasn't as entertaining of a fight as a lot of fans were hoping it would be. A lot of the fans that did buy the pay-per-view because Masvidal stepped in, which is a lot of people. UFC 251 pay-per-view buys came out just last night rather. And it generated around 1.3 million buys, which is the most since 2018. So you can thank Jorge Masvidal for that. And that's all Jorge. The guy's a star. And I know a lot of the casual fans bought in to this pay-per-view because of that, and I'm sure they were very disappointed. And a lot of them, I'm sure, were bored watching, mostly a grappling match, wrestling match for 25 minutes. But you can't say Kamaru isn't dominant and isn't great at what he does. And it's incredibly tough to beat him because the guy can strike too. The guy strikes pretty well now. And that's how he really is able to close that distance and level change and worth the clinch, worth the fight to the ground, and that's exactly what he did. By the third round, Masvidal was tired. Masvidal came out very hot. He wasn't wasting any time throwing haymakers, technical haymakers, of course. Masvidal, that body kit that he has is incredible, and you know what he can do with his hands. Masvidal came out the gates hot. I thought that Kamaru would actually test the waters on the feet longer than he did. He wanted to get that thing into a grappling match pretty quickly. He got his hands on Masvidal pretty quick, and he did not look back. I was actually a little surprised. I thought he would try play with the striking a little more than he did, but he wasn't taking any chances, and I don't blame him. That's what you do when you're the champ. Dominant performance. And obviously, next is going to be Gilbert Burns. He'll be taking on Kamaru. He was supposed to fight Kamaru until he got COVID, and that's why Masvidal stepped in. I think Burns is a tougher matchup than Masvidal for Kamaru. Masvidal is right up there, though, honestly. Even Leon Edwards is not an easy matchup for Kamaru because he's much improved since the first time that they fought. But Burns will be next, and Burns is an interesting challenger for Kamaru because, of course, he's that decorated jiu-jitsu artist. So if Kamaru does get him on the ground, Burns can be dangerous, even off of his back. And Burns has showed an incredible improvement in his striking. And he's got some power, too. He can drop you. So that's going to be a really fun matchup, especially with assuming both guys get a full camp. That's going to be much more competitive than what we saw Saturday night. I think Masvidal with the full camp will also be much more competitive, especially just cardio-wise. But Burns, I do think, is the toughest matchup for Usman right now at 170. And, of course, that can change pretty rapidly in this sport, but right now I'd say that's the toughest matchup, and that'll be the next matchup. With Masvidal, it's a little interesting. He made it clear after he lost that he was disappointed and that he wants to get a couple wins and get another chance at the title. That's what he wants. So there are definitely several matchups and several directions that Masvidal can go from here. One being Leon Edwards, who's right there as a contender in this division, been the contender in this division. They got beef, obviously. That'd be a fun fight. That would make a lot of sense, too. Assuming the UFC is going to make Leon fight one more time and get another win before he gets thrown into the thrown into a title fight against Kamaru or Gilbert. Another option is Colby Covington, obviously. Now, Masvidal said he wasn't really interested in fighting Colby because he's a bum. That's what he said. That he was... But that's just such a fan-friendly fight. I would love to see them two fight because Colby's not a bum. That would be super competitive. And there's even more bad blood there, I would say, than between Edwards and Masvidal. So either one of those fights is super fun. Third option is definitely Nate Diaz. Masvidal is definitely interested in that fight. So you could see Masvidal and Nate run it back. And a wild card matchup in this situation is Wonder Boy. Some people, I guess, didn't watch the interview between Masvidal and Ariel or didn't catch this part when heading into UFC 251 when Masvidal said that he is very interested. He listed Nate Diaz and then he listed Wonderboy Thompson. Because Masvidal lost to Wonderboy back in the day. He wants to avenge that loss badly. So that's a wild card too. Could be Wonderboy. A lot of options though for Masvidal. He hopes that he can get back into another title shot. So let's move on to the co-main event. Volkanovski, Holloway rematch. First fight was super close. I had Volkanovski winning that first fight. I definitely did. I actually did. It was super close though. Second fight, I had Holloway winning though. And I know most people did. I actually thought it came down to the third round. I was surprised to find out that the fifth round was actually the deciding round on the judges' scorecards. The scorecards read, everybody gave the first two rounds to Holloway, thank God. Then all three judges gave rounds 3 and 4 to Volkanovski. And then 2 gave the fifth round to Volk, and 1 gave it to Holloway, leading to the split decision. So I was pretty surprised to hear that it was the fifth round that decided it. Nevertheless, I had Holloway winning that fight. It was super, super close. He came out super strong. I'm saying super a lot, but it's true. Holloway looked great. And if it's true that he did all of his training via Zoom, that's pretty crazy. He stands by that. As for what's next for these two, it's very interesting because I know Volkanovski does not want to run it back. He's content with finishing this chapter of his career and moving on. Holloway, it's really unclear. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I'm sure he'd like to run it back because he feels like he won the first one. I'm sure he feels like he won the second one too. So it'll be really interesting where they go. I wrote an article that should be coming out today on what should Matt Holloway do next. And I think a really viable option is just waiting. Sitting out like 8 to 12 months. Letting I think he should stay at 145. And I think he should let that play out a little bit, that division. We got the top 6 guys, I believe, are all scheduled to fight besides Max and Volkanovski now. You got Ortega and Korean Zombie. That fight is supposed to be happening. And Dana White had said earlier, back in May actually, that the winner of that will get the title shot, the next title shot. So you got that. You also got Zabit and Yair squaring off August 29th. So I think Max should wait it out. You know how much he loves his family. I think he should chill. He was healthy coming into this fight. I'm sure he still is pretty healthy. Keep it that way. Train. Hang out. Let things unfold. And maybe take on the winner of Zabit and Yair. If either of them, if they do to give the next title shot to the winner of Ortega and Zombie. Any 4 of those guys, though, would make sense for Max's next fight. I think that's a lot of fun. Otherwise, you could do the trilogy. You could run it back. Dana White doesn't know what they're going to do yet. And if Max does want to move up, you got Tony Ferguson at lightweight. And who wouldn't want to see Matt Holloway and Tony fight? I mean, that would be super fun. But again, I think the wisest move for Matt Holloway is to just wait. Just hang out. He's still only 28 years old, which is still mind-blowing. Just wait it out. Let a few things unfold, Max. That's my advice. The first title fight of the night, actually, was Peter Yan and Jose Aldo, and this one was fun. Jose came out looking really good, throwing very tough leg kicks, Jan was forced to switch stances. He was really beating up Jan's leg, and these guys, they were saying it during the broadcast, and it was true. It was kind of like a Muay Thai fight. They were just sitting there in the pocket, letting the leg kicks come, not checking them or anything really. It was crazy, and just standing and throwing. And Jan, I mean, he is the real deal. This was by far the toughest fight of his career. I mean, he fought Uriah Faber, but Jose Aldo's a huge step up right now in terms of where those two guys are at this stage in their careers. And Jan performed. Took some shots too. He's a tough guy. And of course the ref clearly should have stepped in earlier. That was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He just kept saying defend. And all Aldo was doing had his hands on his head and just eating shots. It was bullshit. But that was so fun. So fast, so technical. Aldo still has it, clearly. And Jan is to be reckoned with. That's what I came away with from that fight. And Jan versus Sterling is definitely the next fight to make. For sure. And that's going to be wild. Be interesting to see how Sterling comes out in that approach. See if he tries to get a hold of him right away like he did Sandhagen. As for Aldo, there are some interesting possibilities out there for Jose. He could fight Cody Garbrandt next. He could fight O'Malley if O'Malley beats Vera. O'Malley gets that Aldo fight next. That would be wild. Or he could fight Sandhagen, who doesn't have an opponent right now. So there's definitely some fun possibilities out there for Aldo. I think he stays at bantamweight. He's got a nutritionist now, and he says that the weight cut to 135 is not difficult for him at this point. I think he stays there. He looks good at 135. He does. One of the fights of the night, underrated fight, was coming into this was Jiri, Prochazka, and Volkan Oezdemir, and that was, oh my god. Everybody knew if they knew who those two guys were, you knew that was going to be a knockout. Jiri, I did not know he was such a showman though. You saw him in there fucking dancing, holding his wrist at one point and throwing shots from like his belt. It was wild. You saw him like turn his head, turn away. Oezdemir caught him with a ton of big shots too. I thought I saw Yuri's knees buckle from one of the shots. He didn't go down, but he showed a chin. He showed a chin, and he showed those heavy hands. Oezdemir doesn't get finished, and Jiri slept him in the second round. I really did know Jiri was built, he was ready for this. And he showed that. And I really do, what the UFC gives him next. Is it Corey Anderson? Corey is one of the only light heavyweights ahead of where Oezdemir was that doesn't have a fight scheduled right now. Is it Corey? Could he face the winner of Anthony Smith and Alexander Rakic? Possibly. But either way, it's going to be fun. You got Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira fighting. He could face one of them after. Definitely a ton of fun possibilities for a guy who is rising up the light heavyweight ranks. He's going to do it quick. One more win over one of the guys that I just mentioned, and you're going to have yourself a contender at 205 after just 2 fights. It's crazy. Another amazing fight, one of the fights of the night, was Rose and Jessica Andrade. Namajunas came out looking really sharp again on the feet. First 2 rounds, she looked great. Really good. She looks like she wanted to be there, and when she does, she's scary for any woman on the planet. And Andrade came back with a vengeance in that third round and really put it on Rose. It was crazy. Really had a ton of success. She hit her with a big uppercut, and she tried to go back to the well a couple times with that, and Rose took a ton of damage in that third round. Probably she took more damage in that third than Andrade did the entire fight. But Rose did enough the first 2 rounds to come out on top in that one. And those two are great. Rose is one of the best on the planet. I think she fights Wei Li next, which is so exciting. That's one of the best female fights you can make right now, Rose versus Wei Li. That'll be a ton of fun. That could be a main event anywhere you go. That is a ton of fun. Yeah, UFC 251 was great. Yeah, Kamaru showing his dominance again. Who's going to beat him? Will it be Burns? I don't know. It's a tougher matchup than Masvidal was, in my opinion, especially in Masvidal on 6-day notice. Then you got Masvidal. I think he takes on. It's really out of Edwards, Covington, Diaz, and Wonderboy. You got 4 options for Jorge right now. You say pick and choose. All fun in their own ways. Co-main event, I think Holloway should wait it out. Wait until around 2021. Then the 145 division will be a lot more clear. You also got Calvin Kattar. If he puts on a performance against EJ, that could be an option too for Holloway. But I think he should chill. Wait it out. As for Volkanovski, you got winner of Ortega Zombie, winner of Zabit Yair. 145, I think, forget Cejudo. You just got to take on all newcomers in that division. It's too deep right now, too talented at the top too. Peter Yan versus Sterling will be next. That'll be a great fight. Aldo, I think he should keep fighting at 135. Got a ton of fun possibilities there with Cody, O'Malley, if he beats Vera, and then Sanhagen maybe. Jiri is a force to be reckoned with at 205. He can put anybody's lights out in that division. Imagine him fighting Jan Blachowicz. The power that would be in that octagon. Whew. And then Rose versus Wei Li is going to be next, I think. And that'll be one of the best female fights of the year. That'll be super, super fun. So check me out. I'm done here for today. Check me out on MMA Reloaded on YouTube tomorrow. That'll be out some point in the afternoon, I think. And then later in the week, I'll be back with my colleague, Alexis Rodriguez, to break down Wednesday's fights. He got Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige. Amazing main event. That's going to be a barn burner of a fight. There's also a few other fights that you can't sleep on. Couple prelims, couple on the main card. Going to be a lot of fun. And then more to come on Saturday. So looking forward to it. Hope everybody has a good couple of days. And follow me on social media and backsportspage.com. Peace.